We're going to discuss Caitlin Clark today.
Oh.
They were still talking about it on SportsCenter yesterday at like 5 o'clock. Granted, there's been another fever game since this game happened.
And here we go.
The only reason I wanted to bring it up is because yesterday Pat McAfee called Caitlin Clark a white bitch on ESPN, and Stephen A. Smith also embarrassed himself on First Take, arguing with Monica McNutt. Two of ESPN's top talent just completely embarrassed themselves talking about women's sports.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Smith kind of doing like stats, like we talk more about the WNBA than every other show. Like, who cares? But you're not talking about it well.
Why is he getting so emotional, and what does that even mean when you say you don't talk about it well? In what context and what specifics are you talking about? But of course, they're not going to go into that because they're a bunch of simps over there at the Dan Le Batard show.
He said it complimentary in a strange defense for himself. He tried to say well, I meant it as a compliment.
I can clearly tell Pat McAfee said that in a complimentary way, similar to how chicks call themselves boss bitches or bad bitches. It literally is a complimentary way that Pat McAfee said it. But when you got sensitive ass dudes over there at the Dan Le Batard, so of course they're going to take offense to it.
Discussing men's sports for 50 years now on the radio. 50 years, 40, 50 years, and we're still terrible at it. And so now we're discussing women's sports. And you expect, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying it's going to take a minute. We're not doing it well.
That doesn't mean anything. Just because you are not particularly covering it well, that doesn't mean other sports networks don't cover it particularly well. And that's just a cop-out or a simp-ass way just to say, we can't criticize women's sports because we don't know how to particularly address our sport. Stupid.
And I'm confused. Have men never watched women's sports before?
Yeah, you clearly don't do your job. Yeah, I believe you now when you're not good at what you're supposed to be doing, because statistically, men make up the majority of the viewership of the WNBA. So using this frame of logic is completely idiotic, and you're just saying it just to be a simp. And I'm going to keep saying this because that's exactly what these guys are doing.
Covering this for like 3 days. And also when it goes to Stephen A. Smith, all he had to do was say like, you're right, like we'll do better. And I think that whole conversation like doesn't happen.
Are you delusional? Do you suffer from a mental illness? Do you think you do?
Like, it doesn't require a lot for men who have been covering sports for a long time that are now catching up to the popularity of women's sports just to say like,
just to say what? Because I'm going to stop you right there, because people keep pretending, people like her, keep pretending the WNBA has been popular since its existence. No, it's becoming more popular now and more so than ever because of this woman, Caitlin Clark's entry into the WNBA. Stop pretending like this league has always been popular. This is really getting aggravating when they use this argument.
figure it out.
I feel like it's like our show Throwing Stones. Like, we've been showing our ass on this stuff as much as anyone.
We're talking about it. We're not talking about it well. That's essentially what's going on.
Yeah.
And some people will say, well, at least they're talking about it. No, talk about it well.
You need to shut the fuck up.
Can't just waltz into the WNBA and pick up right where she left off at Iowa, because it speaks to the level of the NBA. The WNBA are coming to grips with what nobody wants to admit, which is that Caitlin Clark, her alone, is a huge reason why a lot of people, including me, quite frankly, are paying more attention to the WNBA now.
That is exactly my point. That is the whole focal point of this. Stephen A. doesn't have to apologize because what he said about the WNBA players is clearly objectively right. They are jealous of Caitlin Clark's effect on the WNBA. But the only reason why people are really tuning in is because of Caitlin Clark. I don't care what the WNBA feels. The facts show people are more interested in watching the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark. And what he said there was factual and correct.
Than ever before. I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's making a lot of other players jealous, and they should be jealous.
That's where I'll stop you. I think a lot of WNBA players have said that exact thing. Where I'd stop is that they're all jealous of her. Not that it's wrong to be jealous of someone who is making a ton of money.
You can't have it both ways. You can't say that they're not jealous, and then give a reason what could make them jealous, that literally destroys your own argument. You literally just said, I'm going to stop you right there because I don't think they're jealous, but then you bring up a point about her making $28 million with her Nike shoe just to say that that could be a reason why they're jealous. You done nullify your own point. I don't understand these people sometimes.
$8 million.
I don't think it's jealousy. It's like, hey, look over here. We're pretty good too, and we laid down the foundation for that. Do me a favor. Don't talk about women's sports when it's convenient. Talk about women's sports because you want to talk about women's sports.
Because it's a good product.
Bullshit.
The games are. There's going to be more Sky Liberty tonight. It's going to be a great game.
Northwestern was just going for back-to-back NCAA lacrosse championships, and Izzy Skane has had every bit the career as Caitlin Clark had at basketball.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
TV shows are going to put things that get ratings, you idiot. So you making a lacrosse reference is really insanely idiotic. I think it's time for Thanos to send the asteroid right about now.